Welcome back. Now, since the People's Democratic Party lost power in the 2015 general election and slipped into a serious crisis a year ago, the political landscape of the country has not been the same. Politicians have been defecting from the PDP in droves, and all of them have so far been heading to one direction, the ruling APC. Two former governors of the PDP, senators, House of Representatives members, and many party heavyweights have left for the APC, and it appears more may still follow in the coming days and weeks. In fact, it is now becoming difficult to tell the difference between the PDP and APC when you look at the faces of those in the ruling party. Joined on the program by Chief Olabode George, who is the former Deputy National Chairman of the PDP and, of course, a leader of that party. Chief George, thank you very much for joining us. First, let me start by asking you, what exactly is going on with your party right now? Why is it so difficult to resolve this crisis?
No, you know, it is not that it's difficult to resolve it. We are at the caudal end of the whole operations. We were in the Supreme Court about a week and a half ago, and I believe that, well, on that day, all the submissions were adopted from both parties, both the appellant and the respondent. So we are waiting for the final decision of the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of the land, who will decide who is right. Did we follow the constitution of our party, or is Sheriff the chairman and all that? That will be resolved very soon. And because we are law-abiding people, you know, respectable, responsible people, we've told all our party members to sheath their sword and await the judgment from the Supreme Court. Thereafter, the party will bounce back. Thereafter, we will know that all the political, all the legal tussle will have ended, because that's the highest court of the land. And we can get back, reconcile ourselves, and move forward.
But the impression we're getting, especially from some of your members and some of your highly placed members at that, is that whatever that the outcome of that court judgment is, it might just not be the end of the crisis. Because we've had some of your members who have said, well, if the court judgment, for instance, went in favor of Sheriff, they might just decide to leave the party altogether. And we've also heard from the other side as well, saying they too might just decide to leave the party if the judgment went against them.
You know, whichever side, let me say this, if it comes to the part that are in majority, there's no problem, we will revamp our party. If it goes to the other side, what will happen will become an individual issue. For somebody like me, you know, the old cliche of Papa Bola Ige, I will go into a sit-down-look mode, because we believe that any organization must have a constitution, must have its regulations and the rule. And if we don't follow that, we will cease to be an organization. So it is that interpretation that we are at the Supreme Court to settle. And we are hopeful, we are looking forward that they give us a time that they will pronounce the judgment. That's why it looks like everybody's quiet. Everybody's in a silent mode. But I tell you, we are not. You know, we have a saying in the Yoruba parlance, in my own part of the world, that when a lion is well fed and is sitting and looking, it doesn't mean he's afraid. That's what that means. We cannot jump gun. We cannot start running around politicking and campaigning until this matter is settled.
Are you suggesting, when you say if the court judgment, for instance, went against the faction you support, because we all know that you support the faction of McCarthy. So if the judgment went against that faction now, that you will just resign from politics altogether? Is that
yeah, I'll go into this. You don't look. Yeah, resigning in politics, you know, every little home, whether you are in a party, if you're a card carry member or not, there is politics, even in a micro unit of a family. You cannot but be part of it. But I will not participate, you know, with the party being led by Sheriff. It will be against my conscience. It will be against my modus operandi, because we don't live in a jungle. We live in a land that we must have respect for the rule of law. And all through, Sheriff is my friend. We have not quarreled, but that the way he emerged is what is not akin with my own beliefs. So if, for example, they now decide that this should be Sheriff, I'm now a septuagenarian. What am I looking for? I'd sit down in my house and then I would still be a public commentator on issues that I believe would be germane to the development of our country. That's why I said that we all should wait. We've told our boys that they should sheath their sword and await the Supreme Court judgment.
What would you say to suggestions, and this is even out there, I mean, comments that your party actually invited this problem on itself in the first place, that some of your governors are just the problem of the party, that if they had not actually gone to get Sheriff and, you know, impose him on the party, so to speak, in the first place, you wouldn't be having this kind of problem at all.
In this place. You are quite right. I agree with that entirely. You see, you know, but the highway of life goes into a valley once in a while. And there is no life that won't go into one tribulation or the other. I think it's a test trial for those who are committed, loyal, and dedicated to this party. You know, there was a time we used to say PDP will rule continuously for 60 years. We forgot, and we made mistakes, no doubt about that, and we accepted it. So this is a learning process for us, that individualism cannot work when you have a political organization. It is a collective responsibility. And nobody should arrogate to himself that is the master knows all, that is the Alpha and the Omega. It's only God Almighty that is limitless and is eternal. All of us, we have a limited time in this. So when you are there, play your role ultimately, and then leave the stage when the ovation is loudest. There's no doubt, like you said, we made a blunder. But have we learned from that blunder? I believe we have learned. If you have a human being that says he will go through life without having tribulations, then he's not a human being. And so we are looking at it. Yes, we got a bloody nose out of that, but we are not knocked out. So I believe that we will move forward. If it comes positively on our side, I told you, we will revamp the party as quickly as possible. If it goes to Sheriff, individuals will decide whether they want to stay on there or they don't want to stay on there. But for me, as Olabode George, I will take a costly look at it. And I think I've attained, I would have played my role, and take a back seat and do what Chibola Ige, to quote Papa Bola Ige's idiom, sit down, look. That's what I'll do.
Now talking about individuals, I mean, and quite interesting, you said you hope that the party would have learned from its mistakes, because we've seen the party make, you know, the same mistakes over and over again. Let's just hope after all of this that the party would have learned, as you said. But then talking about individuals now, we've seen some high-profile members defect from your party to the ruling APC. And as a matter of fact, let's even bring it down to Lagos State. There is this rumor, even though it's not been confirmed, that your one-time governorship candidate and a former minister, I'm talking about Musili Obanikoro, well, he's about to defect to the APC. Even he himself has refused to speak on that. These defections are surely not...
You know, when you say people move, that's their individual decision. But what the advice I will give to them is, how can you jump from frying pan to fire? You saw the charade that very shambolic. The primaries conducted by APC in Lagos over the weekend. Did you see what happened there? So if somebody says he wants to go to APC, I can't stop them. But all we are saying is a rolling stone gathers no moist. Stand up and be noted for something. And it is when the going gets tough, the tough itself must get going. It is not when everything is hunky-dory that you now decide that, oh, you will remain with them. Once it is otherwise, you go to the other one. How can the people trust you? Do you serve the moment or you serve the hour? Do you serve the people for a period to put in your service? That is what I call a civilized human behavior. I have no qualms about those who are jumping ship, but let them make sure that as they are flying across the ship, they land in the other ship and not in water. It's, you know, it's a saying in the Navy. But for me, even if we are 7 committed people, dedicated, committed, and loyal to the party, we will rake up a lot of wakes in this country. We are not people who serve the hour or serve the moment. We serve a time, a generation. And I want to reassure you that that will have no impact on this party.
Can I ask you a specific question, sir? Have you
Yes.
spoken to Obanikoro, and has he confirmed to you that he is leaving the party?
I don't. No, I have never spoken to him. I've met him once or twice. One at the Lagos State Gala night. He greeted me very well. I greeted him. We didn't discuss politics. I met him with our KBC in Lagos. You know, I saw him there. I mean, I was having a chat with the KBC, and he came in. He didn't tell me. He didn't discuss anything about politics with me. So I hear it like you also hear that he says some said he has gone, some said he has addressed his followers that they want to go to APC. No problem as far as I'm concerned. All I am concerned about is that once the decision of the Supreme Court is positive on our side, we will revamp this party. We will ensure that we put the round peg in a round hole, not square pegs in round holes. We have learned a lesson, and that lesson will go deep into our skull and ensure that we do not commit the same mistake twice. Right person must be put in right places to manage the affairs of the party. And that we have learned now, no individual or groups can hijack the party. You all have contribution to make, and that is what is called democratic tenets.
Okay, let us leave party politics now and let's talk about the country. I mean, the general talk in the country now, we're beginning to hear the call for restructuring from several quarters, even from people who would not discuss this issue of restructuring. We're beginning to hear them talk about restructuring. Talk about, for instance, the former vice president of this country, Atiku Abubakar. He's been preaching restructuring. What's your own take on this, you know, call for the restructuring of this country?
Okay, let me put it this way. This issue of restructuring came during the last national conference. And what I understand, because it was my committee that was placed in charge of this discussion before we went to the plenary session. What was conceptualized was that power has been concentrated, too much powers have been concentrated in the hands of the center. That let the states develop. Whatever revenue comes from every state, let them keep about 70% of it and send the remaining 30% to the national. So that, you know, if the national is so strong like we have experienced, there are lapses, there are like what the lawyers will call lacuna. When you now come to the states, they can't perform, and it is the states that hit at the heart of development in their states. Take policing, for example. It is communal. And I was happy when I heard recently from the police that from certain ranks to certain ranks, they will be deployed to their own states to do proper policing. And, you know, look at the United States. We are practicing the same presidential system as they are doing. The governors have all their powers within their state. Of course, they defer to the their own national president in terms of defense, in terms of foreign policies and foreign affairs, you know. But when it comes to, you know, the internal dynamics, how do you manage your state? How do you manage the resources within your state? Don't ship it out. Keep some and then do your contribution to the center. And I want to tell you, because when I was Director General of a national campaign in this country, I've been to every nook and cranny of this land. There is no state that is not endowed with one kind of resource or the other. So people will now be forced to develop that resource or resources, and then, you know, pay something back to the center to keep them there, but retain the 70% so you can do something for your people. That is development as far as I'm concerned.
On that note, I have to very quickly ask you this question. I mean, we've seen agitations from the southeast of the country, you know, groups of people like uphold and Maso pushing for the secession of that part of the country, calling for the creation or independence of Biafra. I mean, you fought the Civil War, and from your experience, you look at what is happening now. What's your take on it? Are you surprised that we're going through this all over, you know, just like all over again?
I want to plead, to appeal to our brothers from the southeast, telling us you want to yank away and form an independent something. That will not be a solution. If they are aggrieved about an issue, collectively they can because we're in a democratic dispensation, not a military. They can go as a group to make their agitations known. They've been neglected with ABCD that should be done have not been done. Yanking away and moving out is not a solution. No nation goes through a civil war twice and they survive. I want to believe that they have certain issues that are so germane to them, and the government must listen. The same with the South people, all the oil-producing people. There was a time they were contemplating of sending soldiers there because the boys were preventing the oil exploration. It's an agitation. You will find that. And the beauty of it is that as long as you don't resort to arms and killings and all that, it is legitimate. Listen to them. The beauty of democracy. It's not only in our country that this thing is happening. Take, for example, the issue in England, in Great Britain. The Scots are saying they want to go. The Irish are saying they want to go. The Wales and all that. But they are still negotiating because of the Brexit. You know, to me, this country, our size in itself is like a big honor to us. But let us respect ourselves. The issues of the tribal thing is a setback for this country. Why we keep talking about Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, the Igbo, and this to me, we are over 100 years together. We can still not see ourselves as Nigerians before you talk about these tribal things and religion? No. So to me, it's an agitation, but if it is for them to get some more from the government, from the federal government, so be it. And that should lead you into this restructuring we are talking about. If they control the resources, 70% of it in their own states, why should you bother about who is there in the center?
Do you think that, it will be all right, for instance, to say possibly zone the presidency to the southeast of the country, if not in 2019, maybe in 2023?
You know, our party, people, like I said to you, if it's an agitation for one thing or the other, it is legitimate. A group can come up and say, look, you've neglected us, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. We want part of our own. That shouldn't lead us to say we want to yank ourselves out. No. Now, it is legitimate that they say they have not been treated well in terms of appointments, in terms of this, in terms of that. Government can look at it. And that has never stopped, though. Even during the 16 years that PDP was in power, you know, some zones, some states will come and say, you didn't do this to us, you didn't do, we have been neglected, we have been, that's like a scratch record. It's been ongoing. But my plea to them is that if it is because they have not been well treated, the government should take a cursory look at their request and determine, and listen to them and negotiate with them and solve the problem. Our party has a very unique way of solving this lack of support to the zones. Our founding fathers set up what we call the geopolitical zones. The Northeast, Northwest, North Central, Southeast, Southwest, South-South. Now, these 6 geopolitical zones take care of all the minorities, both in the North and in the South. And in our own concept of operation, because this is not in the national constitution, in our own concept of operation, these top positions, president, vice president, Senate president, Speaker of the House, secretary to government, and the national chairman of the party. If we win, now these 6 top positions will go 1 each for every zone. So you have somebody at the apex of governance. And if these people don't believe in it, that's their own concept. Let's wait for the next election. And if we look at a party that takes care of all these unnecessary agitations, and of course, we are not saying this position must be fixed permanently in any zone, because after 8 years, they must rotate. And so someday, the rotation, it will come to them, whoever will be president. And to my own way of referring to that concept is that it is turn by turn Nigeria Limited. It will get to them sometime. If it doesn't come in 2019, the next time it's coming to the South, we'll probably go to the Southeast. But, that is the nature of our nation. And it's not new here. This is what is practiced in Switzerland. In Switzerland, they have 3 major tribes: the Germans, the French, and the Italians. And they rotate the headship of their country amongst these 3 groups. So what is wrong in saying in the geopolitical zones, it will come to your turn? Once it's finished in one zone, it comes back to the South and goes to another zone. In another 8 years, you keep rotating, and then there will be peace. Because you know that at least one of the 6 positions at the topmost level, one must come to your zone. Well, you won't quarrel, you won't bring down the roof. And anybody who has an agitation, as long as you are not riotous, you present your case, you marshal your case to the government, and there must be a listening government. They must listen to the people. That is why we are in a democratic dispensation. If it's a military, you know, it's a different ball game. Even in the military, we do listen to people. Because as long as you are managing the people, you must listen to them. So that's my own advice.
Chief Olabode George, we thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on some of these very burning national issues. Well, that's it on the program, but if you want to watch it again, all you just need to do is go to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this video and lots more there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. The address is youtube.com/TV360Nigeria. Now, do subscribe to get more videos and updates on what is happening around. You can join us on Google+, that's at TV360Nigeria, or like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360online. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at TV360Online. We thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.